didn't make myself clear. What we're talking about is quantum dice. The idea of looking at the dice in a different way. Instead of seeing the dice target as a specific number, we're looking at as a panoply of potential, so that you have an upper and lower threshold. And the upper threshold is a partial success. And the mid range, your nominal success or straight success. And then the lower threshold are wild success. This means that you've accomplished what you were trying to do and more. And I came across it in dice simply because I was looking for a way to handle combat faster. I wanted to have interaction with one or more people engaging and being able to resolve, number one, which ones are damaging which ones and which ones are using better skill or whatever. And to do that, use the dice roll. And your skill would equate to be a percentage number somewhere between 5% and 95% at the base. And then with the threshold opening at a low number, it can still be a fairly wide window. So I wish I had somebody to be listening that could respond, because then I'd be able to find out whether I'm making any sense, because I've tried to describe this 3 different times in videos, and I know that my words are going out, but I'm not getting retention on the videos. Maybe it's my personality, it may be my energy level, I don't know. I've got to find out and fix it in the future. I need to find out how to convey this information, because I know it's rash to make a comparison, but looking at dice and seeing a quantum experience and seeing multiple possibilities on an individual die roll is tantamount, I think, to tantamount to the idea of buying water in bottles compared to drinking out of a garden hose. The world has been drinking out of a garden hose forever and rolling targeted die rolls forever, and fighting with ways of doing that, whether you do it with a whole lot of dice and go with pools of success, or you do it with buckets of dice and go with the largest number of winners, or you roll multiple dice and take the better or the worse, like Dungeons and Dragons does, for their advantage or disadvantage. But all of these different methodologies are literally just trying to find a way to handle a single die roll mechanism. And I'm telling you, this is different. It truly is an innovation. And I know that I created it for the NycosRPG mechanism, and the Dungeons and Dragons mechanism can't use it. It doesn't fit. And so NycosRPG gives you the opportunity to see the comparative value of your dice roll immediately and know exactly whether you succeeded or failed on your specific attempt, and therefore be able to tell, relatively speaking, should I have at least fair ground against my opponent, or did they actually succeed at their objective a bit better and therefore now have the upper hand. Gosh, I'm beside myself, and I pledged that I would be talking about this for as long as it takes. So I'm going to keep talking until somebody tells me to shut up, or I get really sleepy, like 2 in the morning. That's not so far away. It's only 11:30 now. I've run games groups for 17 hours at a session. So to recap, I'm utilizing percentile dice. 2 dice. Each one is a 10-sided die, and there is a interaction between them at the value at the top and the bottom of the spectrum. So, for example, like I said, you've got one that's got the tens digits, side 60 and so on. And the other dice has one digits all the way around from 1 to 0. it's also a 1 to 10, but the 10 is visualized as. So when you roll, you read the double digit dice first, and then the single digit dice. So that way, numerically, that is a 50 and a 2. Doing the quick math, 50 plus 2 is, yes, 52. Of course, you could just read the dice and say that. But I'm going to show you an example that makes it really kind of wonky. If you rolled that, 0, 0, and a 0, well, a 0, 0, and a 0 is either 0, or it would have to be the 100 on this dice, this pair. And so generally this is considered to be the 100. There are some who reverse the dice and think that that's 100. But if you're following the reading convention for the dice, you read the first digit as a tens digit. And so therefore that's 10 plus 0, which is 10. And if you have this on your dice, since this does not have a 100 on it, is now the reason it's the way it is that there are 9 digits that require you to have 2 double zeros, and that's make the small dice represent its own name. So a 0 plus the 9 would be 9. Sense? And that's because there is 10. So that would be. So there's never a situation where it would be. Now you understand how to roll a percentage dice. So now from knowing how to roll the percentage dice, we just consider, instead of a single point on a line and say we must roll that number or lower to be that percentage, we are going to determine a threshold. And the threshold would be doubling up or doubling down. Now I use the word doubling, you'll understand here in a minute, it actually refers to cutting it in half. But it's kind of cool verbally to think of it as being a double up, double down. And it's technically a double up and a double down because the double down is you're doubling the down figure. That makes sense. So let's set the threshold at 25%. And you got a 1/4%. We understand, 1/4 chance. We know that 25% equals 1/4. So on a pair of dice, 1 time out of 4, you would think you would hit your 25 or less. And we would be wrong on the first one. And we would be wrong on the second. And we would be wrong on the third. But we're right on the fourth. Now, you just watched me roll dice. So that was perfect. I could have done that on purpose. I could have actually had those dice slide into place exactly as they did. But the point here is that 1 time out of 4, you should succeed with a 25%. But in reality, if we are doing something and we have a 25% chance of completing it, don't we also have a something percent chance of doing part of it? So with NycosRPG and the quantum die rolling mechanism, you can. So that 25% would double up to 50%, which means about half the time I'll connect at some level, but not nearly the full success. And furthermore, if I go to half of 25, that would be about 12, and that'll happen 1/8 the time instead of 1/4. And so the dice therefore give a broader chance of getting some success, but another chance of a really, really good success. So again, now we're going to roll for the same 25%, instead of seeing it as one number, we're going to see it as that panoply, that 4-piece comparison. So our first time is the 81. 25 doubled up would be 50. There's nothing. That's one fail. 39. 25 doubled up would be 50, so this is a double up success. It's really a partial success, and we use the terms interchangeably. So a doubled up success is a partial success, and you could actually graduate the distance to compare with another player's number to see whether yours is above theirs or theirs. That's 2 rolls, 1 success. 92, not a chance in a snowball. 71, also a fail. 3 times out of 4 we failed still. So it doesn't necessarily make your chances of succeeding improve, but it does give you a broader chance of that success being that realm between a partial and a absolutely wild success. Also realize my success was a 39, so it was only a partial. And so that actually doesn't, it doesn't harm the game to give me still a chance at the partial. But what it does do is gives us a way to do a quick comparison between 2 players at the same time. Literally, they could roll instantaneously at the same time and be able to determine who succeeded and who failed. Now, you might be asking, well, what if we have 2 exactly the same numbers and we both roll exactly the same digit? Well, any success is, any failure is a failure. So if a player is competing and both of them succeed at even a partial, they're both succeeding, so you're still continuing the fight. If, on the other hand, one person succeeds and the other person fails, fail always fails, so he loses. Fight's over. This is easiest to see when you've got multiple players. Since it's just me right now, I hate to say it, I'm playing with my any guy. So 28 is a partial success. It's over 25. The competitor, who's also assumed to be the same skill level, rolls a 91. Abject fail. My partial is enough to get the victory. This is important because if you are in a pitched battle with a lot of players, each person's success or failure only counts as a part of the whole. So if you have 5 adventurers, if you will, they're fighting 5 different enemies. One of them has succeeded like I just did. Another one might have failed miserably. I can forego some of my conditions to mitigate some of their losses. The idea being that I drove my fight into their fight. I pushed my guy so he gets in the way of their competition. But the idea is that there's more theatrical opportunism when a system has fuzzy dice. And a long time ago, when they first were talking about artificial intelligence, when I was a youngster back in high school and early adulthood, the concept of fuzzy math was just starting to be considered, and that is the idea of determining predictability by assuming a certain amount of variance. And that fundamentally kind of led to this in the really long-term path. It took until I got here just in the last year or so that I finally focused in, laser targeted on QDR and on what it means. But I want to make sure that if you're listening to my video and you are a game player, I need you to internalize this concept because it's going to change the way games are played in the future. I know that sounds arrogant, I know that I'm going to be endeavoring to do so because I have an entire product line that's dependent on at least this as part of our revolution in games to be useful. But if you have not thought about dice like this, I encourage you to pull out a pair of dice and fiddle with it yourself so that you can see. And you can even utilize other dice pairings and see what I'm talking about. So, for example, we are talking about a pair of sixers, 2 6-sided dice, standard craps dice, or the same ones that we're using just 2. Just consider, instead of only looking at the numeric value that you are aiming at, think one number above and one. So a 7 already is a big window because there's 5 different ways to get to a 7 on 2d6. But if you can extend that into the 6s and the 8s, you've got a huge window of opportunity. Maybe some of it's not as good because it's a partial success, but there's just as many that would be a wild success. So that's an example, and that's pretty much the only die roll placement that makes any sense to do that. You might choose to put it on a 5, but 4s and 6s aren't that much easier. But I have another 13 minutes till I finish this first hour. So if you are online with me right now and have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. If you haven't yet, hit the follow button so you can keep up on the information as we come out with new videos. And appreciate you taking the time to watch this. So now I'm going to be rewinding. We get to take a slight intermission, grab something to drink here, and then we will do it all again. Alrighty, I am Jonathan Albin, and this is Game Master's Soapbox, and this is a very important topic, and I have tried several different ways to get the word out, and I'm determining that having a little dice tray here and rolling dice and talking about it is the best way to do it. What is so important? What's so important is the concept of quantum dice rolling. The idea that when you roll a pair of dice, instead of having a single outcome possible, you're getting 5 or maybe even 6. When I speak of these, I'm talking about not only an absolute success, which everyone understands, you roll against a threshold and you achieve that threshold, you've got a victory, but also a partial success, that the dice represent not a full success, but a glancing blow, a happenstance target or whatever. It also includes wild success, which means that you got way better than you anticipated and therefore have even more success than you might have otherwise. This concept of a quantum or a series of answers on die roll, it stems originally, in my mind at least, to the concept of quantum theory, that a electron beam passing through a slit, if you will, in a membrane will create a pattern of a line on the far side, unless you're actually focusing on the light of the beam, in which case it's a fuzzy blur representing that the light particles are acting more like a wave than they are as a particle because you can't focus. That's a big fancy word. What I'm talking about here is that instead of saying I've got a 25 or better, 25 or less succeed, so a 25% chance, I instead have a 50% chance of at least a partial, and I have a 12% chance of getting a really good result. So In this case, I completely botched it because a 91 is way more than 50%. So failure is the first category of response that you can get off of a quantum die. The second would be a double up. And a double up would be a dice roll like this one. I'm rolling right to Q here. People are going to think I'm like a game master or something. But a 41 is more than 25, but less than 50. And so that's a doubled up success. And therefore it counts as a partial success. The idea is that I didn't get all of my target, but I got a chunk of them, so to speak. Then the next beyond that would be to roll an absolute success, and that would be, well, a standard success, and that would be 25% or lower. And I rolled a 14. I'm rolling right down the table, just like I could have. No one's going to believe I did this. So I'm glad I've got an eyewitness. I did this. So the 14 is a double down success. No, sorry, it's a standard success. That means it's below 25 and more than 12. And therefore, that is what's considered to be a normal success. That's what you'd expect to do. We also had a partial success a moment ago, and before that, we had a failure. So now, theoretically, this should not happen. By the way, if this does, I will be freaking out because I will shorten this video down to 1 minute to just show it all real fast to prove that it happened. But goodness gracious, if I roll less than a 12 on this dice roll, I'll be pretty impressed. No, another failure. That's fair. So now now that I failed, I'm now going to roll a couple of times until I get it so I can act like I did, right? So, but you were here, you saw it. So here we go. 22, normal success. 40, partial success. 63, third failure. There we go. There's only 5 dice rolls. Only 5 dice rolls after I hit the others in a row. From failure to partial to success to double down success. And then I blew it on the double down. So there you have it. But that shows you that the dice reading is relatively quickly. All you're looking for is where it is on that spectrum. And the spectrum shifts up and down based on the skill. So as a player advances in the game, his skill gets bigger, so his overall chance to succeed goes up a little bit, but his partial success also increases. So that only goes until you get to the cap, which is, I mentioned it before, the concept of statistical significance. And that is the top 5% of dice. So in this case, 96, 97, 98, 99, and 100 are all abject failure. No matter what you do, those are going to fail. That's to represent the anomaly or odds that things happen, because if it happens one time out of 20, that's pretty impressive. So in terms of game mechanics, it's the way of handling. And that applies all the way up. So let's imagine you've got a character who has advanced to the point where you are so good with the sword that you have 90% success. You still have to roll. You'll almost never have a partial. You only have a partial if you roll 91 to 95, right? Anything above that would be an abject failure, but that is still only one time out of 20 that ever happening. So most of the time you're going to connect, and in a big way, because double up stays the same all the way. Doubling up on a 95 means that any roll less than a 95 would be a double down. So now you understand the mechanism, how the dice work. Actually, I said 95 double down would still be 40. To get to that wild success, you'd have still. It makes it manageable. Take it to. So I hope that made sense to you. If you're watching and you appreciate it, make sure you click the follow button. And if you understand what I'm trying to say and want to help, make sure you share this with other people. I'm going to be leading this here on Discord. In Twitch in its full form, but I'm also going to be doing cut down versions, trying to splice together to get it as concise as possible because we really need to get the word out. I want this concept to be seen by efficient people to comprehend that it's a great way to even explain quantum stuff to other people with a pair of dice, because you can simply say, my dice roll is going to be somewhere on this spectrum, and in the spectrum are these following characteristics: failure, partial success, full success or great success, wild success, and then finally perfect. We haven't talked about the perfect, but the perfect is that 1 in 100. I mentioned earlier on the idea of 1 in 100, really rare. And if you don't believe me, sit with the percentage dice and try to roll 0, 1. You'll be there forever. If I had done it right there, I'd have been. Didn't happen, and it isn't going to happen very often. Mathematically, 1 time out of 100. In reality, it could be forever. Got 11. It's close. So that's what I've got basically to cover, and we are at the hour. I did complete my objective, which is to get an hour's worth of video in. I'm going to be cutting this up to make separate videos, but this will be here on Twitch. So if you like what you saw or you think it's intriguing, tell more people about it. Get them to see this video, because the NycosRPG roleplay game, specifically the Dark Shards supplement, the system book, is available now, and there will be more coming. But it's the first game that utilizes this die rolling mechanism, and I want to get it spread around as far as possible. So if you're interested, on Saturday mornings I do a demo of the game here on Twitch, and we go through an actual number of series of turns in the game, showing how the game mechanics work, and that includes die rolling. So if you want to be an observer, come and watch that. And as an added bonus, if you come to the episode, give me your name in Discord. In chat. Just mention your contact name in chat. Then, if you stay for the whole episode, I will give you a PDF copy of the game itself. And this is going to be a limited time only. I only have a certain amount of time before I have to send it to the final edit. So this is the pre-final edit form, but you can actually get a free copy of the PDF if you come on Saturday and play. Saturday morning, 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. Theoretically, we'll go longer than at least 9 to 11. And if you stay the entire duration, you get a free copy. I'm leaving that here in this audio as well, and this applies to anybody who watches this, which means we might have 300 people. We might have 535, which is my current follower list. I don't anticipate that. Many of them I haven't seen in time. But if you want a copy of the NycosRPG, show up Saturday morning, 9 a.m. on this channel, and we'll be playing NycosRPG through what's called the NycosRPG Open Experiment. Do it here on Twitch. So for more information, reach out to me through Discord if you want. That's available through the site here, or you can send me a direct message. In any way, I will get a hold of you and respond as quickly as possible. If you like what you've seen, put a comment in the comment section, or a comment in the chat if you're online at any other time, and I'll be glad to talk with you. And if you like what we're doing, subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. That's at NycosRPG.com. Alrighty, so I'm getting out of